Depending on when this is uploaded, I would have gotten out of the psych ward probably 4 or 5 days ago, maybe 6. I'm fresh out the ward. My Instagram stories were wilder than Ethan Klein's on a random Tuesday. Got my grippy socks on, locked in. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my experiences going to a mental health facility, getting treatment, navigating all the things that led up to my decision to check myself into a little grippy sock vacation, and everything that happened at the specific facility that I went to. But I just want to preface this with not all facilities are treated equally. I know a lot of people have had horror stories about facilities that they've been to. Some here in my home state of North Carolina, some in other states. You really got to be careful about where you go, because some facilities are fantastic and I can't recommend enough, and some facilities are not so great. That's the thing about privatized healthcare, is it's wildly inconsistent. But if you are somebody out there who is struggling with mental health issues, depression, you want to get diagnosed for something because you got something going on, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to seek help, to go to a doctor, to do your best to help yourself, because when you're not helping yourself, you're hurting yourself, and you could be also hurting others as well. And you don't want to be doing that to yourself or other people. It's your personal responsibility to make sure you're good. You got to put your mask on the airplane before you put the babies on, because you're on a Boeing plane, and that's what happens. No, this video is going to be radically earnest, but I will be tongue-in-cheek about some dark stuff. So bear with me, I apologize. It's how I cope. It's how I cope. But yeah, it's been a wild year. Huh, gang? Huh, gang, who's been keeping up with me for the last year? It's almost been a year to the T since the Beast bullshit dropped. Isn't that wild? Isn't that nuts? I drop all the Beast bullshit, and then 1 year later, I'm in the ward. I got sober. I came out as non-binary. I got a bipolar diagnosis. I'm on medication. I've collected all my infinity stones. No, but I did an AMA about what it was like being in the ward, and I wanted to make a video like this to just kind of talk about my experiences. No, but what led me to my decision to check myself in? Well, I was having a rough go of it. It's been a wild year. It's been a wild 5 years for me personally. I was going through a couple of abusive relationships. From like summer 2023 to summer 2024, I had a bit of a drug problem. I got a whole bunch of online attention, mostly positive, but some negative. I went to LA. I thought I had a bunch of stuff lined up, but all that stuff I had lined up kind of fell through all at the same time. And then I was trying to find like a job really quickly to like no avail. I was going through the last 5 years of all this crazy bullshit, all while apparently being undiagnosed bipolar. Oops. I thought I just felt things big, Everyone was calling me YouTube's biggest crybaby. Bunch of ableist motherfuckers. I got a doctor's note telling me you guys gotta knock it off. Yes, I am diagnosed YouTube's biggest crybaby. Okay. Maybe not anymore. Hey, maybe not anymore. What's up? How you doing? Oh, these? It's lithium. 3 times a day. No, it's so funny. I was in there for a full 7 days. Surviving 7 days in the psych ward. I was in there for 7 days. And on the first day I'm in there, like the first full day, I see like the head doctor. And I'm in this meeting for like 10 minutes. Giving her the rundown on, what led me to want to check myself in. And after talking with the doctor for like 10 minutes, she goes, "We're going to put you on a mood stabilizer." And I go, "Oh, great. Could you have come to that conclusion after maybe longer than 10 minutes? She goes, "Have you heard of bipolar?" And I'm like, "Look, okay, you clocked me. Okay, you clocked me. But I don't know, could have maybe pretended like that was a harder thing to guess." Now, I did talk about this a little bit in one of my shorts on my Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that jazz, where I talked about the logistical issues I had coming back to North Carolina and trying to find a psychiatrist and a therapist. I got on some private health insurance, but that private health insurance was dog shit. Private health insurance is dog shit, free Luigi. But while I was trying, not to unalive myself in Minecraft, I was navigating all this crazy bullshit that was impossible for me to navigate while also looking for work, while also trying to keep my head above water. Oh my God. And so, not to be too Debbie Downer about it, but it got to a point where I said, I better check myself in or I'm checking out. Okay. And so when I get in there, there's like an intake process where they ask you a bunch of questions, you do a bunch of paperwork. People come and go asking you different questions based on their, specific fields. The intake process itself took a couple of hours. But once I got in, I'm in there like shaking, like, hey, I'm here. Yep. Everyone who gets to the psych ward isn't pleased to be there. No one's excited to be where they're at. So I get there and they're asking me these questions. And I noticed right away, one of the first cool things, I said that I used they, them pronouns. And the nurse goes, oh, they, them, got it, they, them. And then they write them down, they, them, they, them, they, them, they, them. And then they go to all the nurses, they, them, they, them, they, them, they, them. And then they put my pronouns on the board. That was nice of them. So I'm like, okay, off the bat, we don't hate that. And let me just say, right now, I know some people have had terrible experiences in wards. You are very likely to run into very, very troubled people at psychiatric facilities. But when I tell you that everybody at this ward was so nice and so cool, I'm talking nurses and patients, okay? Jasmine, Brittany, Allie, Alexa, Jesus, Casio, Tommy, other Tommy, Megan, Michaela, everybody at the psych ward was lovely. So after an insultingly brief meeting with the doctors where they clocked me with bipolar 2 and put me on a mood stabilizer, I'm there for a week, like doing, what's on the schedule, which consisted of a bunch of group therapy sessions, some one-on-one sessions, activity therapy. There was breakfast, lunch, dinner, okay? And the food, hey, wasn't bad. Food wasn't bad. It was a step above high school cafeteria. I went to an NA meeting, which is like AA, but for drugs. There was like 5 scheduled outdoor breaks a day where everybody smoked an ungodly amount of cigarettes. I don't usually smoke cigarettes. I've had vapes. I hit vapes. I've probably smoked 10 cigarettes in my life up to this point, but I smoked more cigarettes than I have in my life in the ward. And that's, you got to do something, I guess. The entire experience was lovely start to finish during one of the outdoor breaks. And this older lady, I mean this endearingly, but she had a trailer park vibe. She heard that I used they, them pronouns. And she goes, oh, you're one of them? And then she means so well. Her kid was also non-binary. And she wanted to relate better to her kid, so she was asking me questions. But as she was asking me questions, she was saying stuff like, oh, you're one of them? My daughter's one of them. I was like, your kid. Yeah, okay. I want to talk to her and relate to her. You want them, you want to relate to them. But it just, like, grammatically speaking, like, doesn't that mean, like, what do I say? Like, them's coming over? I go, they are coming over. Like, them's on their way? I go, they are on their way. Well, why don't you just say bisexual? Oh, it's like, well, sexuality is one thing and gender expression's another. They're different things. It was super sweet and wholesome because she was earnestly asking me questions for the purpose of getting closer with her kid. So, shout out to that lady. Love her. My roommate was this older guy named Casio. In the first couple of days, we just kind of slept all day, because when you get there, you're sad and you sleep all day. But after a while, we became good friends. And at one point, I'm showing him Midwest Emo and Chapel Roan. Vibing. Just vibing. One of the guys left, and he said, hey, if everybody here Venmos me $10, I'll get everybody cigarettes. He had long white hair in like a ponytail, and tattoos. Everybody Venmoed him $10, and then he left. He checked out. He graduated, and he turned right back around and donated cigarettes to everybody. He was like psych ward Santa Claus, putting cigarettes in our grippy stockings. The schedule was very, full but tight. One of the things that was really, really cool is they really, really kept you on a routine, and it's a routine that I have tried to keep not being in the ward anymore. They had you wake up at like 6:30, you're having breakfast by 7. First thing on the schedule is a cigarette break. It was 6:30, cigarettes, then breakfast, then cigarettes. No, but then there's therapy sessions, activities with everybody, scheduled personal time. They had different stuff every day. They changed the menu every day. If you had dietary restrictions, they would give you vegetarian option, vegan options, pescatarian options. I got to keep my phone. I was live posting the whole time I was in there. I was texting my friends, calling my family, But don't get me wrong, they were strict on some stuff. Like all of the pens were small and bendy so that you didn't, When you come in with your stuff, they check what stuff you have to bring. You can't have a belt. You can't have shoelaces. If you don't have clothes, they give you like a gown, you know. I checked myself in, so I had clothes. Yeah, I brought fits. They did not let me keep my slutty little crop top. I have a slutty little crop top, and they did not let me keep it. I can't be the hottest person in the psych ward. I'd be OP. You're not allowed to go into anybody else's room because they could kill you or try to have sex with you. At one point, they took my hair gel, and I had to be like, can I please have my hair gel back? You know, for like self-care purposes. Because when I don't have my hair gel, I look like Vector from Despicable Me. So can I please have my hair gel? No, everybody that was in there, I was in a detox unit. I wasn't going in because I needed a detox right then and there. I was just honest about previous drug use, and so they put me in a unit that catered extra to people who, you know, struggled with drug use either currently or in the past, which was great because I went to some dope-ass NA meetings. I met some dope-ass people. And everybody in there was earnestly trying to get better. You know, everybody in there could relate to each other's, you know, stories. I used to have a problem with trauma dumping on people, and I'm going to quit doing that moving forward, you know, obviously, because that's, you know, a toxic thing to do. You know, I at the time, I was just trying to process things out loud, you know, and see if anybody could help me. But, you know, dumping your stuff on people like that is a no bueno, don't do that. But in the psych ward, that's what it's for, you know? So I was like, oh, this is perfect. So everyone's just trauma dumping on each other, and everyone's just becoming great. You make great friends. I got a group chat right now with people still in the ward, okay? And it's people you maybe wouldn't normally be friends with, you know, because you're in different social circles or social classes or anything like that, you know? At one point, there was just a group of people all talking about, like, Jim Carrey movies. We talked about The Truman Show for a while. People would come in and be so personable and nice and warm and inviting. Like, everybody just, like, was a great vibe. Because everyone comes in skittish. Everyone comes in shy. Everyone comes in, you know, with their baggage. And everybody was so like, hey, it's okay. We're all in here because we have baggage. And it was so lovely to see people slowly come out of that. You know, I was only in for a week, but some people were in for 3 weeks. Some people were in for a month. Some people were transferring to other places to go to 30-day programs. Some people have been in and out multiple times. And when I got there, that was me. You know, I was people... Once I came out of my shell and started talking, people were like, whoa, what the hell? You know, you're a lot. I wouldn't expect that from you when you got in here. You know, but after a couple of days of getting to know everybody and the good stuff, it was great. And then, you know, I've been in there for a few days, and now new people are coming in. And now I'm the old head. You know, hey, first time? Yeah, I've been in here a few days. It's like jail, but it's what rich people think jail is. When you're rich and you go to jail, that's what it was. I went to rich people jail for a little bit. I like to joke. When I was at Rosanna Pansino's house for 2 weeks last year, I jokingly said, this is what rich people do when they go to rehab. Like, Rosanna's place is a rich person's rehab. A North Carolina psych ward is a rich person's prison sentence. And they were both lovely. It was really nice to get a reprieve from the news. Maybe that's why my mental health radically improved. Because I wasn't glued to the news. I filled my day up with activities. Doctor-ordered activities. Now, were there negatives for me for being in the psych ward? Sure, of course. I mean, it is what it is. Not everybody was this dope-ass person I'd vibe with and hang with, you know. Some people were in there for some problems that made it hard for them to socialize. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty and give away anybody's business because that's rude and shitty. But even those instances, you know, when people are maybe harder to socialize around, you learn about, you know, some of their lore, some of their backstories, and you kind of empathize. I mean, everyone who's in there is in there because they got something to be in there for. So the worst, even the worst of people who were in there, you know, I deeply, deeply, deeply empathize with. And, you know, oh darn, it was a little socially awkward sometimes. Okay, whatever, that's fine. I remember they were still trying to figure out if they were going to let me leave on a Monday or a Tuesday. I ended up leaving on a Monday. I arrived on Monday. I left on Monday. The horse's name was Monday. No, but I was there long enough to get one last extra group therapy session in. And that was lucky of me because that was the first group therapy session I was in where a lot of people cried. Like it was like I did. Yeah. Yeah, you know me. But yeah, no, everyone was really just kind of being really, really vulnerable. Really, like, the therapist was like, oh, I'm fucking crushing this. Was that on audio? Did we get that on audio? It's storming outside. There's a full moon right now, and the weather is like a Scooby-Doo level amount of thunderstorm. Sorry if I'm all over the place. I can't take Adderall anymore because now that I'm on lithium, I can't do shit anymore. I can't drink. I can't smoke weed. I can't do other drugs. I can't even take ibuprofen because it'll mess up my good stuff. And I like my good stuff, and I don't want to mess up the good stuff. No, I remember when I was taking Adderall, it negated all of my ADHD bullshit, but apparently I was also raw dogging bipolar and had no idea. So it didn't help with that at all. But now that I'm taking lithium, it negates all of my bipolar, which is great. And it kind of half-asses my ADHD. I mean, clearly I still have raging ADHD. I mean, blah, 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 you know? But it does help soften a lot of my ADHD symptoms, which is nice. It doesn't get rid of it. But for the longest time, I was trying to get some kind of diagnosis, whether it was BPD or bipolar or manic depressive. You know, for the longest time, internally, I knew something was going on. You know, ADHD couldn't be the only thing. I assumed it was maybe CPTSD from some trauma, you know, from various things. Or if it was something, you know, more diagnosable, I sure would love to find out, you know, so I can treat it. And that's exactly what happened when I was in there. And I'm incredibly thankful and fortunate to have been down bad enough to have just been beaten down so much that I was able to find out that I had this diagnosis by 28 instead of like 34 or 45, you know? Because when you don't really care about stuff like that, you don't really care about your mental health, you don't really care about how you're affecting yourself, you know, or you're affecting others. And I know drug use in the past was really harmful to myself and really harmful to others. Not being able to regulate my emotions was hurting me in the past and hurting others. And I was always trying to do the work. But no matter how hard I tried to do the work always seemed insurmountable. And for the first time in like a decade, it feels very, very manageable now. And I'm very excited about that. And it was nice to meet all the people that I met. And when I was leaving, you know, we were talking about, you know, Truman Show earlier. Everybody in there became such great friends. It was like the Breakfast Club, but also lunch, dinner, and bedtime. They were, you know, people were sad to see me go. And that was wholesome. You know, obviously they're like, oh my God, you get out of here. But also, you know, not everyone leaves at the same time. You don't all get to, you know, they stagger out when they leave. You know, maybe in a couple of weeks. When everyone's out at the same time, we'll all go grab a bite. Yeah, I'm down. If you guys are down, you got my number. But I'm leaving, you know, and people are fucking crying and shit. And I got my suitcase. And the person I was talking about Truman Show with, I turn around and I go, and if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Oh. It was a lovely experience. It was a lovely experience top to bottom. Again, not all facilities are created equal. I highly recommend if you are thinking about, you know, first of all, don't. But second of all, see if there's a facility near you that's as good as the one I went to. I'm not going to give out, you know, the name of the place that I went to unless you're in North Carolina and you DM me, okay? If you're in North Carolina and need psych ward recommendations, I got you. But, you know, look at reviews for places. If you know somebody who's been to a facility like that, see if that facility was worth going to or not. And either if you can afford it or if you have good insurance, greatest country in the world. Or if you're covered by Medicaid for the next 30 minutes before that's gone, greatest country in the world. Just take care of yourself. That's something I've been trying to do for a long time. And if you know me personally, you know there's been a lot of ups and downs in that regard. And if you've been following me online, jeez. If you're on Reddit, you know that's been a lot of ups and downs there as well. But I'm hoping, now that I've collected all my Infinity Stones, that I can put some of that stuff behind me. And we can move forward with some new feet. And that's what I plan on doing here. And also what I plan on doing when I don't have a camera in my face. So, in this impromptu 1-year retrospective, what a season finale, huh? I just want to say thank you I've gotten a lot of support. I've met a lot of great people. I've had a lot of challenges. I didn't always rise to every occasion, but I did always get back up. And I will continue to get back up, even if it was touch and go there for a minute. So if you subscribed a year ago, if you subscribed 10 years ago, or if you subscribed right now, I just want to say thanks. And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.